Whoa, let's learn stuff.
Let's learn about promotion strategies.
All right, so yeah, now we're ready to jump into the topic of promotion strategies. So, promotion strategies, those would be chapters 13 and 14 in the textbook. And I really just wanted to concentrate on a few concepts about it. So, that's going to be what I talk about the rest of the evening, which is listed right here. So just a couple more items, 5, 6, and 7. So somewhere in chapter 13, I'll start with this concept. It talks about promotion strategies, or it talks about promotion, about being, about being, about, wait, promotion strategies is about communication, right? So up to this point, think about the entire paper. We started with getting to know the brand or getting to know yourself or looking at the environment in which your brand operates. So that's looking internally, looking at mission and objectives, growth strategies, and so on. Things that are given enough time are within the control of the organization. And then there's the external factors where it's operating under those conditions and it doesn't typically have any kind of control over that. So it's about knowing all of that so that you could then figure out, okay, what are my strengths? When I say my, I'm talking about the brand. So what are the brand's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? So again, just laying that foundation, knowing all there is to know, all the relevant things about the brand, and then from there, coming up with marketing objectives that make sense based on your strengths, for example, or your weaknesses. So I'll use weaknesses. If you know, so for those of you working on a marketing plan about yourself, a typical weakness would be that, okay, I don't have a degree, for example, right? So then knowing that that's a weakness, well, that would make for a good objective to say, okay, one of my objectives, one of my SMART goals would be to complete my degree by December 2025. So something like that. Or maybe given the opportunities out there, you might say, oh, my goal is to capture this market by doing this, something more specific, but based on seeing opportunities out there, maybe you want to capitalize on that and go for it. So that's how it's useful to know yourself, know your brand, so that you can come up with objectives that make sense. And then from there, well, you're going to have to think about who your brand is for. Like, who are you trying to target? And so that's this whole discussion here, your target market, knowing what their love language is, right? Like what makes them tick. So you want to know about demographic information, psychographic, behavioral. And then there's a section about making sure you want to connect that, because you don't want to just do something because it's something cool to do. You actually want to have a purpose behind it. So it needs to make sense that your objectives are connected to your chosen target market. And then given that, well, then that's when we go into the marketing mix, right? So if you recall from the textbook and our previous Zoom session, we talked about the 4Ps. So product, place, price, promotion, right? So the position strategies, that would be just what do the consumers think about your brand? Like what's their perception of your brand? That's your positioning. So it doesn't, in many ways, it doesn't matter what you think your brand is. It's more, well, what do your customers think about your brand? Like what is your place? Like even if you think you're the most luxurious hotel chain, for example, well, maybe that's not how your customers feel, right? So it's, you kind of want to make sure you're positioning yourself the way that that makes sense and that you control the narrative if you can, or at least steer people that way. What's their perception? So it's about knowing that. And then there's the product strategies, right? So we talked about the product itself, thinking about, well, what is it? Because it's not always just whatever it is you're selling. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes with that. There's the idea of the core product, like what at the very heart of it, what are you providing? What kind of solution? Then there's the augmented part of it, right? Like if you have warranties or any other stuff like that. And then the pricing, well, there's a whole, like, how much are you going to charge, right? It depends on your goals. If you're trying to make a profit or if you're trying to penetrate the market quickly, well, you're going to have different strategies for pricing that way. And then you also have to think about going back to positioning strategies. What are you trying to communicate with the price? So if it's cheap, well, maybe that's what you're going for, everyday low price, right? Like Walmart, right? Or maybe you're going for luxury. And then that brings us to what we talked about last week, distribution strategies. So this is the place part of the marketing mix. So you have this product, you know the customers that you want to target. How are you going to get it to them? And then that brings us to promotional strategies. So that's where this part comes in, marketing communication. It's about communicating what it is that we have to offer. So many people, right? And even for many of you, when I ask you at the beginning of the semester what you think marketing is, a lot of people say it's advertising or sales. So that's really one aspect, right? But as you've learned, there's much more to it. So promotional strategies, it's not just advertising. It's not just the things that you would think of that promote the product. It's really everything that the organization, the brand communicates. And then the textbook in chapter 13 talks about the 4 roles that communication would play under promotional strategies. So I listed them here with examples. So first one is about informing. So this is especially the case if you've launched a new product, for example. Maybe you want to teach your customers about, well, what is this? What are its features? Why is that good? So just think about in the context of these 4 roles right here. Next time you get any kind of communication from your favorite brands, think about, well, what is this trying to do? Is it trying to inform me, or is it trying to do the other things? So inform, product descriptions, explainer videos where they, well, explain whatever it is, some aspect of that product, how-to guides, right? So I know I bought products before where I just jump in and try to use it, but then in the end I get stuck. So then I look for some kind of manual or how-to video on how to make this work. So that's the whole inform part. And it's not always going to be advertising, right? That's going to be different things that are provided. Like maybe they have a YouTube channel, for example, where they have these kind of videos. So it's not strictly advertising, right? But it's a communication piece, and that's very much a part of promotional strategy. So that's something to think about as you're, getting to this part of your marketing plan paper is where does this fit in? Or is there a place for informing kind of communication? So the next piece is remind. So as the verb suggests, it's about just letting people know of what's going on, because people have a lot of things going on, and sometimes it helps to get that piece of communication that says, hey, we have this sale going on, so there's seasonal promotions. Or it could be a reminder for repeat purchases. They might say, hey, it's been 3 months since you were here, you need to replenish whatever product it is. You might also get, so a common way for them to get to you would be emails. Yeah, right there. Emails prompting product replenishment. So that's an example of a promotional strategy. And then the next one is persuading, getting you to react. So when you see that piece of communication, they want you to do something about it, whether it's to visit a website to learn more information or to actually buy something. So one of the ways they entice you would be limited time offer, right? You only have until this weekend to take advantage of the sale, or there's only so many left. Go ahead and buy one now. That kind of stuff. You might also have an influencer try to endorse a product, telling you, yeah, this product is great. So you might think of a celebrity trying to tell you, hey, these shoes are amazing, you should buy some, or something like that. And then the final type of marketing communication is for building relationships. So this would be like a common one is having some kind of social media engagement. So you could think of the whole, whatever type of social media platform they have, well, that's an example of promotional strategies. Just having that piece where you give them all sorts of information. And, in many ways, it could be that you combine some of these other items within your social media platform. You might share your informational videos, or you might remind people of a sale going on, or you might persuade. So see how those pieces come together, right? So it's about communication. So again, it's also not just what we typically think of, which would be commercials. It's really just the whole way that the organization approaches communicating with their customers.